Welcome, everybody, to Dissecting Tyrone. I'm Jason,
I'm Brandon.
and today is episode 10, Man Up. This episode is going to be about basically men, what we go through as fathers. Father's Day's coming up, so we decided to bring that in a little bit. What we go through as fathers and men mentally, emotionally, and hopefully help some guys get some ways on how they can get that out.
Right. And since it's, National Men's Mental Health Month,
Correct.
Awareness Month, we're also going to touch on some of those subjects and hopefully it'll help you guys out. And again, like we said before, this is a safe space and a part of therapy as well. And hopefully we offer some good content today.
Definitely. And we decided to call it Man Up. We were going to go with Man Enough to Feel, because this is really about being strong enough to embrace your emotions, have your emotions, and have that space for them. We decided to go with Man Up because, a lot of us, that's what we heard. Like, we heard man up, like be tough, like don't be weak, like man up. So we thought that'd be a fitting name for this. But based on that concept of being man enough to feel, what does being man enough to feel mean to you?
Man enough to feel, I guess it's changed over time. I think initially just my perception is you just always have to be tough. You always have to never be vulnerable, never show any weakness, because if you do, somebody can use that against you and find an angle to you. But now as a father and actually been through life, manning up to me is actually taking care of business, whether you are a father or just yourself, just making sure that you have your priorities in place, making sure that you treat people kind. And also, like I said, when it comes to the children, making sure that you give them the right tools to navigate through this world. And that's also from a financial perspective, an emotional perspective, physical, spiritual, all of those things encompassed into one. So that's what it means to me.
Oh, I get that. For me, saying man enough to feel basically means that you can be vulnerable and still be strong. I think a lot of times that whole man up mindset comes from, you're a man, you shouldn't be weak. You shouldn't cry. You shouldn't be sad. You shouldn't be down. You shouldn't be emotional. You shouldn't have emotional needs. And, so they tell you to man up as a way to say, like, hey, get over that. Like, be tough. And so I think when you say man enough to feel, it says, hey, you can be strong and still be vulnerable, or still be emotional, or still have feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a big thing to understand, because, as men, we are labeled as the ones that are supposed to be the backbone, the leaders of the relationship. And even though in today's society, where more relationships don't have that traditional, I'm the head and she's submissive and all those things, and there's a big argument about whether you should be the head or you should be submissive. Even though those tradition and roles are changing, people still have this mindset or this idea that the man is not allowed to be weak.
That's true.
So for me, I think, well, first let me ask you this. Do you remember the first time somebody told you to man up and how that made you feel?
Oh, yeah. I think it was probably I had to have been a child, and I either fell or something happened to where I kind of like hurt myself, but it really wasn't like somewhere where I had to go to the hospital. And maybe it was like an uncle or somebody was like, hey, man, you got to man up, be tough. So I got up, dusted myself off, and the next thing I know, I was right back out there. And I think one of the things that it did, it showed that, okay, it's okay to fall down at times. You do have to get back up. But there's also a time if you are hurt, which maybe as a kid growing up, you kind of hear it, you kind of don't, to basically come back and just say, hey, this is how I feel. Opening up, being able to talk about or express yourself around certain folks. Like I said, my mom always opened up the door, so we had that great relationship. But when it comes to other men, they're always saying like, nah, you need to man up, you need to get up, not really talking about the emotions from them. And it's probably because of what they went through and what they were told by their fathers or men in their lives as well. So that was probably the first encounter for me. What about you?
First let me say this. You just said something that's real important to me, is when you said, maybe you needed to, like get up and dust yourself off or whatever. And I think that saying man up, especially in this type of conversation we're having, is given this bad undertone. But there are points and times to where I think every man would agree that sometimes we do have to man up.
That's a fact.
So I don't think, I thought it was a bad thing at first, but when you said that, it just kind of made me realize that, manning up is not necessarily a bad thing. I think it just becomes bad when you're not allowed to follow that up with emotions and express how you feel. Like anytime you have emotions that you want to express or that you want to, get out or whatever, then you're told to man up and you're called weak. Because nowadays, one thing we know for a fact is that women are quick to call you sassy.
Quick.
I mean, anything. You do anything, that brother is sassy.
Right. So one thing that you did, so I want to piggyback off of that. So I think it's two sides to it. In some sense, yes, you have to man up because at the end of the day, your life is your life, and sometimes people it really doesn't matter because they have their own thing going. So that's one thing, and you don't want to take advantage of it because then it's like, okay, you're constantly making excuses for things that you can go through yourself. Not even on some mental stuff. You just have to have that fortitude and just go get it. And unfortunately, a lot of men, they suffer from that. They maybe have been like a mama's boy or pampered for so long. And when adversity comes, they tend to run. And then they may use that, well, you're saying to man up and I'm trying to be strong or I'm trying to do this instead of taking business. But on the flip side, when life gets to happening, you just have to literally man up and put your boots on and go through the fire because then you kind of figure out, okay, this is what I'm really made of. Now I can get through the fire. And that was nothing. You get past it and you like, man, that was nothing. So, and even looking at it from a financial perspective, I remember the first time that I ended up getting laid off. I'm like, man, what am I going to do? I got a son on the way. And ended up going back to school. Well, I had one degree, my associates, and then I went back to go get my bachelor's, and I was just grinding. I'm class after class, taking 4 or 5 classes at a time, knocked it out super quick, and opportunities start opening up for me because I manned up. Right. I was able to express myself, but it was like at the end of the day, people lose jobs, and what are you going to do about it? Am I going to sit on the sideline and mope and have deep depression set in or something else set in, or am I going to start opening my mouth for the help to say, hey, I'm not looking for a handout, but this is what I'm looking to do. And you surround yourself with people who may be in a position to kind of help you attain those goals and motivate you to where now you're on the other side. So you go through a layoff or you go through some adversity again, and you're like, oh, I got the blueprint now. I'm going to get back in the game.
Definitely. I think that's a great point. And to back up real quick, just so I make sure I answer the question, the first time I remember hearing man up, I was a child also. Okay. And I think it was pretty much a similar situation. Like you get knocked down, you get hurt, and somebody uses it as a way to motivate you to, stop crying, to man up, to pull up your britches and keep going. So that was the first time that I heard it too as a child. And again, at that time, you don't realize that it has a negative undertone to it. You just look at it like, yeah, I gotta be a little tougher. And again, I think there is a place for that, and I think that's what you were alluding to, is that there's a place for that to where, as men, as leaders, period, a lot of times you can't lead by emotion. Like you have to have emotions when you lead, because you have to have empathy, sympathy, and things like that for the people that you're leading, whether it's family, business, or otherwise. But you can't lead based on those emotions. Like, and I think men naturally, because we're more logical, I think that may be where the man up thing comes from, because it's like, hey, stop being emotional. You have a task that you have to complete or something you have to do, and you need your logic for that. So man up, be tough, get through it.
And I think to your point, if you look historically, so like you have the king and or the king of the household, they're going to the family is going to look to them to make these decisions, to have a sound decision. And that's where the queen comes in, knowing her role to nurture and nature you. So basically behind closed doors, you're like, okay, cool. You may be able to express yourself to her, get the things that maybe you're not getting in the public. And then she may tell you like, hey, you need to man up, or okay, it's a time to cry on my shoulder, but get back out there and do your thing. Go do your thing. And now you are revered, or you're looked at as this true king that is, like you said, has the empathy, but also can make the tough decisions for the embetterment of his household or his community.
And they gonna eat you alive in the comments.
Why is that?
Because you said her role. These women don't want roles no more.
Well, if we gonna talk about it, and I think it was in a good light. So
no, I'm just teasing with you. I'm just joking.
Hey, bring them on if y'all want to get at me in the comments. Hey, we're gonna have a great, healthy banter back and forth.
No, and I'm just joking.
I know.
So let me ask you this: since we just established that manning up doesn't always have to be a negative thing, What makes it negative? When does it become a negative issue?
That's where I was talking about, to where if you go through something that may be like of the norm, some type of adversity, and you run from it and you make excuses and you're like, oh, well, I'm not going to do this because of XYZ. I'll give you an example. So somebody may get fired from their job, or somebody may get reprimanded for their job. And the first thing they may say is, oh, man, the man has hold me down, or the man is it. It's like, man, you're making excuses for yourself instead of actually looking at what was the situation. If you have a true HR grievance, okay, figure out what that process is and go through it. But if it's something resulting in action that you did, look at yourself, stop trying to put the blame on somebody else, take accountability, and let's move forward. And now, hopefully, you learn from that mistake and you keep it moving.
Okay, I get that. Kind of like using it as a crutch.
Right.
Like, to me, I think when it becomes negative is when it does shut down your emotions. Like I said, when somebody, you talked about the queen saying man up. A lot of times in relationships, men will hear that term from their woman, and it's not in the greatest light.
That's true.
It's kind of like, he's having a moment. Maybe he had a hard day, or he's rough, and he just needs a moment to sit there and explain what's going on, or to get his emotions out. And sometimes people do view that as weak, and she'll say, hey, man up. And in that situation, she's using that term to shut down his emotions, and I think that's when it becomes a negative thing from my point.
And that's not a queen in my opinion. So I mean, if they're doing that, then you might have to find a new partner, or go seek some type of counseling. So
okay, we had another question. It says, why do so many men suffer in silence, especially when they're providers? I think that's a good one. Why do so many men hold in those emotions and are afraid, or are they afraid? Is it fear? Like, why do they not share those emotions and let that out?
It's probably twofold. I would probably say, for me, in the past, holding in emotion because you know that you are putting the family on your back. So no matter what, you're literally putting maybe your significant other first, your children first, and it's like you don't have time to sit down and express yourself, or that environment is probably not being created. You have to establish that and find a partner that would, that's also a part of that 50-50. Not even on some financial tip, but just on an emotional tip, being able to create that safe space. And if that space is not there, I think by nature, us as men, we like, all right, I'm gonna just get the job done. I'm not gonna complain about it. It is what it is. I'm super stressed out, but I'm gonna do my thing. And unfortunately, if you don't have a healthy outlet for that, other things can start happening. Maybe you're looking for love in the wrong places. Maybe you have some type of substance abuse that you're doing behind closed doors, or maybe it's one of those things that you kind of take it out from time to time on maybe your kid or your spouse or your significant other. But all of those probably come from just being that balled up energy that you're not able to express and get off your chest in a healthy way.
Well, they say, energy is never dissipates, it just transfers.
Right.
So that would make sense that if you don't find a way to let that go, it's going to transfer to a negative source. For me, I think it really does come down to what you said about, when you are the head of the family, like you have it all on your shoulders. There's a lot of pressure that comes with being the boss or the head. I don't want to say boss. That definitely has.
Oh, they're going to tear you up in the comments now.
I don't mean boss. I meant the head. When you're the head, there's so much pressure that comes with that. I tell people all the time, there's that big argument about submission and headship. And I say, to me, that's the most misunderstood concept in the Bible. Because to me, submission doesn't mean that you just, do whatever he says and you're under his control. Submission to me is about trust. That woman is trusting that you are following God and that you're being led by God as you lead her. And in the headship isn't about control. It's not about, hey, do what I say because I'm the boss and I said so. Headship is about accountability and responsibility. God is holding you accountable and responsible for the success or failure of this family. So headship is really about pressure. And because of that, I feel like as the man, we're all, men and women both, we're all going through something, emotionally, physically, whatever, we're all going through something. And when you want to be that safe space for your woman to provide her a safe space to release, it's kind of hard to take those pressures off of her and allow her to release and then say, but now let me dump this on you. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of times for me personally, my space was with my friends. You know, I'd say it all the time when I was going through my divorce. You know, you, Drew, you know, my friend Tony, Bam, you know, Gerard, like Lim. I have a lot of friends that were there for me, and those became my safe spaces to where when they would call me up and be like, "Hey man, what you doing? Let's talk." We would go out and talk, and I was able to get those things out. I don't think I could have done that, and that was going through a divorce. So I wouldn't have did it with that woman anyway.
Right.
But I don't think I would have done that with a woman that I was dating, because how can I release onto her when she's releasing onto me?
Right. And that goes back to creating a safe space for both parties, but you have to establish that early. But it's one of those things that you actually have to go through something, like you going through your divorce, like me going through my divorce. I honestly believe I never would have been in the space that I am in today had I not done it, because I was just, okay, well, I do have something like kind of building up, but you know what? For the betterment of the family, I'm gonna put my stuff aside and I'm gonna just push forward. And but there comes a breaking point at some point where you just get stressed out, or it's just too much, and it can explode in any different fashion, and it'd be super duper bad for the family. So it's very important to have those outlets. Like I said, with me, you going through your divorce, me going through my divorce, being able to open your mouth, being able to talk, taking the time out for yourself. And I think that's going to be the key to literally being better for your family.
I agree with that 100%. You know, and the tough part is that when you don't have that outlet, a lot of times that's when men shut down.
Yep.
You know, that's when men, because the next step is going crazy or flipping out or doing something, you know,
Or leaving.
leaving.
Yep.
Right. So a lot of times men are just shut down. Like women, so I have a PS5 and I have all the latest video games and stuff, but I literally play the game maybe once every 6 months. But there's a lot of men where that's their release.
Mm-hmm.
Like they want to get on the game. It takes their mind out of reality. And women, you have a lot of women that will nag them about it. And he's always on the game, or he's always this, but they don't realize, man, that's a part of his safe space. That's how he releases. You look at it and you're like, hey, he's just out here playing a game and talking to his buddies. But really, man, any moment that you can take away from reality and get in a space to where all those pressures aren't there or don't matter, or you don't feel the weight of them, man, you want to be in that space.
And you know, society also sets it up that way as well, because there are, and I'm not saying every woman has access to it, but more so than men, but they have their safe space, their girls' night, or you know, you used to hear like the girls' trips. Now, guys has kind of balanced that out now, but all these different things, if anything happens, they have their sister circle that comes around them, and they're able to express themselves. And if they're getting great advice, then whatever relationship issues that they're having, these women are saying, hey, okay, let me hear your side. Now, okay, well, what did he do? And then they're going to try to find commonality. And then hopefully that woman can take that and come back and be like, okay, you know what, babe, it was on me. Or no, it was on you, but I'm trying to express myself, and it's this, and this. Whereas with guys, historically, we really didn't open up. We really didn't talk. There may have been some guys that had some safe spaces, or when they get out playing cards, whatever they're doing, that may be a little bit of a release. But unfortunately, sometimes you have different vices that are around, and that may get to you too. So when you come back home, the situation is really truly never resolved. You just had an outlet for that moment, and now you're coming back home a little bit more relaxed, but it's still looming because it's not addressed, or you haven't done the necessary work to move past whatever issue that you had.
Man, that's good. And you talk about the necessary work and moving past it. We both advocate therapy a lot.
Oh yeah.
And we know it's more acceptable in today's society, but there's still that big stigma on therapy. Why do you think so many men are afraid to go to therapy? Because you talked about women having their outlets and their friends and stuff, but also historically women aren't afraid to go to therapy,
Right.
and they'll go get help, while men seem to have a resistance toward that. Why do you think that is?
There's different aspects to it. Number one, I know going to a therapist that understands you, so not just a woman or a black woman, not just like a man. Like if there are more black men that are therapists or psychologists that are in the industry that you think you can resonate with, I think that's going to be the key right there. And because a lot of times, I even know when I was going through my divorce, or a little, yeah, roughly going through the divorce, I had reached out to a therapist, and it was a white guy. And there's no knock on any race, but he's talking to me, and I'm like, man, I don't think I'm really connecting. Like, I'm trying my hardest to say, hey, this is the issue, this is what's going on, and I'm 100% in it. I'm trying to work to maybe hopefully salvage this marriage. But the fact of the matter is, he wasn't the right fit for me. Whereas I felt like if there was somebody who potentially looks like me or somebody who understood me a little bit more, I'm like, okay, I can kind of get with this, and I'm gonna hear what he has to say. Try to develop that partnership, that friendship from that, not necessarily a friendship, but just try to develop that trust, and then go from there. Be able to break down those walls, those barriers. So I think that's probably one of the big barriers to why men do not seek out therapy, because they may not feel safe in that space to talk because they feel like they're going to be judged, and they're like, okay, well, the minute somebody says something wrong, they're going to be looking at them like, nah, I'm done with this, because they don't look like them. And it's like, who are you to tell me X? So,
Well, and a lot of times too, as black men, we feel like our plight is different. We feel like we have a different experience in the world compared to our counterparts and women, and we feel like there's just a lot more judgment and pressure. So I think what you said is spot on. That when you find somebody that looks like you feel a little more relaxed to be able to open up like that. And let me take a minute too to shout out real quick, Ted Lampkin.
yeah, the homie Ted.
Yeah, Ted Lampkin,
Yep.
Preston Hogan. I got a buddy named Glenn Cass. He's in school for it right now, so he's not one yet, but he's in school. So there's more out there.
My uncle Sean Foster, he's up in Chicago, so he does his thing too. So
Yeah, definitely. And there's more than just those guys out there. Those are guys we know, but I appreciate you fellas for giving men like us a safe space to have these conversations and talks and get therapy. But we need a lot more men in that field too, because I think men would seek it out more if they had that opportunity.
So something else that may be a stigma, I know probably here in Omaha, because it's so small, people feel like, well, if I go here, then is it truly a safe space because my business in the street?
I don't want my business
So I
out.
think the bigger cities is going to be easier. So that's where I would probably say, if that's the case, look for somebody who does something remote, because now you don't know this person, or they're not in your city, but they look like you, and there's an opportunity to say, okay, I truly need something different because whatever I was doing is not working, and now you have an outlet and you can do it.
Hold on 1 second. 1 second.
Message.
That was right there a bar. As simple as that was, find somebody remote. Like I didn't even think of that. But there are plenty of telehealth and teleservices out there to where you can get therapy through the computer screen. And one thing, it's just like being on the internet. We talk about internet tough guys, right? Twitter fingers.
Yeah.
The reason why they're tougher on the internet is because when you're behind a screen, sometimes it doesn't feel as real, and you say and do things that you might not normally do.
Right.
So maybe, and I'm just saying maybe, I don't know for sure, but maybe if you had therapy with a therapist and it was through a computer screen, maybe you would feel more comfortable sharing those vulnerable things and wouldn't feel less judged because that person's not right here looking you eye to eye.
Right. And then the key also, I think the biggest key when you do seek out therapy or whatever that form is, you have to be open and honest with yourself, because if you're not, the therapist is not, their goal is to kind of come in and do the maintenance, the tune up, to try to get you to the next level. You still have to do the work. And if you're not honest with yourself, and this goes for men, women, for anybody, if you're not honest with yourself, you're not going to achieve the goal that you sought out. So just step one, be honest with yourself, be open, start slowly but surely, let down that wall, be vulnerable, because there's some hidden issues that you have, and to be able to get through that, you need it.
Okay, hey, quick question. What about crying? There's always this big stigma with crying. So do you think it's okay to cry?
I do. I'll give you a situation. So prior to me like getting divorced, I was thinking back, and I'm like, man, I don't even know. I don't even think I cried at my grandfather, both of my grandfather's funeral. And I was just trying to think back, maybe as a kid, like that shared some emotion, maybe in the Marine Corps, feeling alone. It's kind of almost like you go off to college, and I'm like, man, I'm missing what's going on back home. I miss my family, miss my mom, my dad, and shed a little tear. But I was still young. I was like 18, 19. But we flash forward the first time. So I cried often, like kind of going through that process, because I was like, I want my family. I don't want this to end. But it was what it was. And the breaking point, I don't know if I said this before, but you've heard about this. The breaking point with me was my ex at the time. We had a heated discussion. I won't even call it an argument. It was a heated discussion. Some words were being said. She ended up leaving, and I was like, all right, cool. I'm about to go hop in the shower. Hopped in the shower, taking a shower. The next thing I know, I start hyperventilating. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Crying profusely. And I'm just like, man, I got down like almost on my knees because I'm trying to figure out like what is wrong with me. So I kind of finished up showering. I got out the shower, and the first thing that I did, I went in the group chat and I was like, yo, I don't know what's going on. I got a family emergency, 911. Like, I need y'all right now. That was the very, very first time I had opened up emotionally about relationship, because prior to that, like, I'm very private when it comes to my relationships. But all the fellas in the chat, they said, yo, what's going on, where you want to meet? And it was just funny because it was four of them, ended up meeting at Top Golf. And one of the homies came, scoop me up, took me to the other homies. My boy Gerald, first thing he said was, what's going on, bro? I was like, bro, and I told him the situation. He said, well, who's the nigga we got to go kill? And I was like, bro, I said, I don't even know if it's even like that. But he kind of broke the ice. I opened up more, and then it was like this pressure, just the weight of the world just lifted off me. I was still going through it, but it was one of those things where I wasn't alone. And to know that you weren't alone, it was like, okay, that was probably the start of the new me. I don't think I was 40 yet. I might have been about to be approaching 40. And that was the start of the new me, being able to be vulnerable, being able to have a safe space. Fortunately, my tribe, and you were a part of that tribe as well, to talk and express myself, and knowing like when I say it, I'm not going to be judged. And we all joke. I'm one of the biggest jokers on earth, but it was a time and a place. They all opened up their ears. They all listened. They let me get it off. We probably were there for like 4 or 5 hours. And then from there, it started. Now they know all of them were married or are married. And it was one of those things where they were like, hey, I knew, and I was like, hey, I'm not tripping. Your wives are a part of me, like just like sisters. So you're gonna talk amongst yourselves in your home, and hopefully what comes from that is good. And what ended up happening was it was good. So they gave me feedback, but that was the very first time that like I truly, as an adult, like cried, expressed the hurt, everything that I was going through. And from there, it's like, now, shoot, if I needed to cry, I mean, it's a release. It's something that you need to do.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Crying is okay. It's definitely not a weakness. It is a release. But even knowing that, and I consider myself very emotionally intelligent. I always was sensitive. Like I said, I write poetry and all these. Like, I've always been that guy. So I was on the forefront of emotional intelligence and accepting that and embracing that. But even with that, I'm not a big crier. And I think that that's my logical side that kicks in. Because it's like, I think as men, a lot of times we feel like, well, what's it going to help? You know, it's not going to solve my problem, so let me focus on a solution, because most men are solution based.
Right.
But I think that it's that we have to backtrack and reprogram that idea, because sometimes it's just cleansing. You know, and again, I don't want to be like I'm this holistic woke brother, but I have gotten into like grounding and, you know, taking walks and, you know, breathing exercises. I have gotten to those things because, you know, our bodies aren't just physical, they're spiritual also.
Absolutely.
You know, and so those things are spiritual moments for me. And I think crying is a spiritual cleanse, and that it's okay to get it out. Throughout my divorce, I didn't cry one time, you know, and I was hurt through that situation. So I think it would have been cleansing if I would have took a moment to say, hey, it's okay to cry and let this out. But I didn't do that. I stayed focused, stayed on my mission, whatever. But I think that would have been the right thing to do. And even as a father of men, you know, they're young men, but they're men. I've always taught my children that it's okay to cry, just have a reason. And what I mean by that, and I express it in what I meant by that, but is that, you know, if you're hurt, if you're sad, if you're going through, cry. You know,
Right.
get it out, cleanse yourself, but don't be a cry baby. Like, don't just
Oh,
cry.
absolutely.
You know, don't,
For
don't
the
just
sake of
cry for
crying.
no reason, yeah, for the sake of crying. But I've always, whenever my children were crying over some nonsense, and I would say, hey, knock that off, I always followed it up with, it's okay to cry, but we have to have a reason, because I never wanted them to feel like crying in of itself was a bad thing or something that men couldn't do.
Right. No, I would agree.
Yeah. So next question, and this is a good one. We kind of talked about this, but it says, what spaces, if any, do men have where they can truly be honest about their emotions?
Man, the tribe, some people that you actually truly trust. If you have a significant other who truly is in tune with what she has going on, knows who she is as a person, and knows where you guys can go, I think that's going to be key as well. That's another space. And then maybe some family, some friends, and then the therapist. I think those are the spaces, or the safe spaces that you have. But you have to build that. You have to develop that type of trust and just kind of go from there.
I agree with all of those. One thing I will say, and I'm going to have to come down on my barbers, like, and
I forgot the
and
barbershop.
go off on my barbers for a minute. You know, I understand barbering is a tough field. I do get that. But the barbershop used to be the spot. That
Right.
used to be the place where you could go as a man, even if it wasn't this big emotional thing where you're just talking about that, but that's where you went to release.
Right.
You know, if your woman was on your nerves, you're like, man, this woman, guess what she did? And all the brothers in the barbershop, oh, and you know, that's where you went to release. And your barber was your therapist. Like right now, my barber is Dave. Shout out to Dave at 4-Star in Bellevue. But Dave, man, we talk all the time. Dave is a therapist, and he is a master in so many different fields of information, from sports knowledge to life knowledge to traveling, and that's who your first therapist really is, in my opinion, is
That's
your
true.
barber. You know, you sit in that chair and you spill everything out, and they tell you, man, you know, hey, I've been there or whatever. You know, they kind of help you go through it. And again, with men, a lot of times we don't need the solution, you know, because a lot of times because we're solution based, a lot of times we're going to figure out an answer on our own. But we need the release.
Right.
We need to be able to have that space to release it. Sometimes just saying it out loud, and then you're able to step back and say, okay, well, now this makes sense to me, because you were able to get it out. And just having somebody that could say, yeah, man, I understand. Those are the things that I think a lot of men need more than the answers.
No, that's a fact. And I would probably say, so my boy Drew, my boy Aaron, you, like, if I need to, like, vent or just talk about something, it's just literally me, hey, picking up the phone, say what I need to say. All right, you got that off your chest? You good? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. And then it's the same thing with them or with you. Hey, you say what you need to say, get it off, and it's like, all right, cool, now we good, and we just keep it moving. Because I will say one thing that is definitely needed from the tribe that actually helps a relationship is you being able to go to your boys and say, hey, this is what the situation is. This is how I'm feeling. They may offer some advice. They may just listen, but you're able to get that off. And now you go back into your relationship, and it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it's maybe I was tripping, or she was tripping, but I can take these different approaches. So it's almost like a buffer. So you're not necessarily telling all your business, but it would almost have to be like something serious that really is maybe bothering you on something on your heart, and then now you're taking that and you're able to go be better for your significant other, better for your family or whomever that you have in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, and I agree with all of that. And one thing, like recently I had one of my cousins call me, man, cuz I'm about to flip out. I'm about to go off. I'm probably gonna lose this job. I'm about to and what I've learned to do is step back and ask and say, okay, do you want my advice or do you want my ear? Because sometimes I don't need your advice. I don't want to hear your advice. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I don't even know what you think. I don't want to. Right now, I don't want to think about doing the right thing, but I need to vent. So I'm big on asking, like, okay, hey, do you want my advice or do you want my ear?
Right.
You know, so that's been helpful to me with my family and my tribe and my friends, is just understanding what they need in that moment. You know, do you need just a safe space to talk, or do you need me to tell you what I would do if in your situation?
No, that's right.
You know, so another thing, this question I thought was really good. And since Father's Day is coming up, this kind of ties into parenting and being a father. It says, how does unprocessed emotional pain affect the way men parent their children?
Ooh, that's huge. Because if you start off on the wrong path, meaning you have historical emotional damage. Maybe the grandfather was showing quote unquote tough love to the dad. The dad, the best that he could, is now showing tough love to the son. So now we're in this new era. So the son is starting to have these kids, and he remembers. So now in our era, it's like you got twofold. Like, so now it's like, okay, we have ways to parent our kids and try to go by a certain standard, but then whatever you're rooted in, you have that as well, and trying to find that balance. So generation after generation after generation, if somebody is hurt or has any unresolved issues, they're going to tend to continue to put those on their children. And one thing that I will say, that is not the answer all the time, is because I said so. When you use that term, because I said so,
That's a horrible answer.
oh my good, but it happens like, oh, I did XYZ. Well, why, Dad, or why this? Because I said so. So instead of saying because I said so, give your children a space to be able to vent. They need a safe space to be able to talk. And you say, okay, well, get off your chest what you need to get off your chest. Do it respectfully. Let me, as a man, take this in, process it, because now it's like, okay, I'm understanding it through his eyes or through her eyes. And now you should be, as a man, be able to be like, okay, let me get back to you on this because I want to truly process this. Or you may have the answer or solution right then and there, and you can have this conversation back and forth. For me, it's very important with me and my son, anytime that he's feeling frustrated or there's like, and it doesn't happen often, but I let him talk. And I say, okay, son, well, did you think about this? Did you think about that? What role did you play in this? And then he's like, okay, cool. Or he just may need to vent. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then once he's done venting, he gets it off his chest. And now we're on to the next. But it's very, very important to break the cycle. If you've had a parent that you, or a father that you felt like was kind of semi-abusive, not even on some physical, but just on some mental, because they didn't understand that's not the right answer or the right way to go, then you have some unresolved childhood trauma. Going back to finding a therapist, a licensed therapist, get that help, get back in the game, and be the best person that you could be for yourself and then for your children and your family.
No, that's good. I think, too, that people have to understand that you can't understand past your understanding. What I mean is that a lot of times, whatever you know is what you know. You know, so like you talked about what you talked about with cycles, you know,
Right.
repeating those cycles. So if all I know is abuse, then a lot of times I don't understand things beyond that abuse. You know, and so sometimes you have to get out and grow and learn and read and watch shows and, you know, listen to podcasts and do these things to where you can get a better understanding that now you can, you know, live up to. You can raise the bar emotionally or in your life by coming up to your new level of understanding. Because, again, if you don't know any better, most of the time you're just going to do what was familiar to you.
And you're a prisoner of your environment because you don't get outside.
Right.
And that's a big thing. And getting outside with intention. And like you said, sometimes it's a matter of travel, going to a different state, going to a different country. Sometimes it's reading. Sometimes it's good. Now it's kind of hard to see what's good media versus bad media, but there are some podcasts out there, such as ours, Dissecting Tyrone, that we try to offer some advice from a different perspective and get people just to think. And if you don't believe us, all right, listen to what we say and go research it for yourself, and then now find your own way. But you're 1,000% correct. That's what it's going to take to break that cycle is exploring something new. But unfortunately, there's still a big population of men that will probably never watch this podcast, will probably never become or not be a prisoner of their own society, and they're just stuck, and they're going to constantly just keep perpetuating these wrongs, and before you know it, it's going to be a whole another new generation just like them.
No, that's a fact. And too, man, I put a post up last night on Facebook, and it basically was like, hey, in honor of Men's Mental Health Month, you know, is there an emotion that you would like to express that you don't ever feel like you're allowed to express? And so many men came on that post and was just like, yeah, man, I struggle with XYZ. I struggle with the pressure of being the leader or the manhood, or I struggle with PTSD from when I was in the military and all these different things. And it's like, man, you know, how many of these men would nobody ask them? Nobody asked them just a simple question of, how you feel.
And unfortunately, that's also a part of the tribe, and hopefully we become a part of that tribe. And maybe we don't know you directly, maybe indirectly, but we're open. Jason's open. I'm open. If you need to shoot the breeze, shoot us a text or whatnot, we'll at least try to get that community going and just offer some sound advice and take it and run with it. And some of the sound advice, maybe be like, we may listen to, hey, bro, I think you might need to go tap in with this person and truly go get some mental health therapy. Or if it's something else, like, hey, I've seen it to where, hey man, when was the last time you went to the gym? What's your diet look like? What are you drinking? Are you just on brown liquor, white liquor, or are you actually starting to drink water? Are you starting to drink juice? Like, what are you putting into your body, into your mind? And that also plays a big part into the mental illness and too much sugar in the food and getting to your body, and now your mind is all off. So many things that you could switch up and change. Like for me, my diet, first and foremost, my physical health, going to the gym, mental health, being able to talk to a therapist, talk to my tribe, my guys. All of those things play a part in who I am today, and that's how I operate and I walk through life. So now when I do find the right woman or the woman of my dreams, and hopefully the stars align, I'm able to be the best person for her because I'm the best person for myself, and everything else is just an added plus.
And fellas, let me say something, because you brought up something that's super important. My boy Tony tells me all the time, the gym's the answer for everything. You know, if you're lacking discipline, go to the gym. It's going to create discipline.
With intention.
Yeah, with intention.
Yeah.
You know, you're having an emotional time. You want to release something, go to the gym. It's going to help you release. It's going to make you feel better. It's going to release endorphins that change how you view things. Like, the gym is a great place to start with anything when it comes to trying to be a better person. You know, you're going to feel better, look better, and be better. So go to the gym, fellas. Get in the gym, get a workout plan, get with a trainer, holler at Trevin. You know, Trevin does Top Flight Fitness in Omaha, who has a great program. But, you know, again, he's not the only one. There's tons of people out there. Just get with something and get in that gym. That's a huge benefit.
Right.
Okay, now here's the last question that we have. What advice, and we went over this a little bit, but let's go in detail. What advice would you give a man who wants to open up but doesn't know how or where to start?
Yeah, so just to piggyback on what we've been saying, you have various options. If it's something that you're truly dealing with and you need to seek professional help, number one, go seek some professional help. Or
and don't think you're crazy or be afraid to do that.
Oh, no.
You're not crazy for needing somebody to talk to. We all do.
Absolutely. But I would also probably say step one is I do it, but a lot of people, you don't write your thoughts out anymore. Like, get a piece of paper and figure out, like, okay, these are things maybe that I'm kind of struggling with. These are things that are going good. These are things that I want to improve. So now you kind of got a roadmap when you go seek out this professional help, to where you're kind of already doing pre-work, and then they're just going to add that value and put some things in perspective to get you over the hump. And then I'm sad to say this, but sometimes you may outgrow your friends, and you got to find some new friends, because Definitely. If iron sharpens iron, if you don't have anybody in your corner that's if they're quick to take you to the club or take you out to go drink, or let's go get on some chicks or whatever the case may be, then that's not for you. At a certain age, you got to be past that. So look at your circle. If you got to change your circle, cool. Maybe you the person that needs to change, and people are getting away from you. So I would probably say definitely writing your thoughts out, seeking help from a licensed mental health therapist. The gym, like you mentioned, these are some things that will help you be the best person that you can be, and hopefully get you back in the game.
You know, and I do want to say this, because you mentioned like your homies taking you out for the women and stuff. Fellas, sex is not your only release. It is a great release. We all love it as men. It does something for you physically. It does something for you mentally. It does all of that. But that cannot be your only release. Journaling, when you talked about writing it down and all that, I think that is one of the best ways. Because, again, you're putting your thoughts on paper. You're getting it out. But also, sometimes, I remember when I journaled, I used to go back and look at how I felt 6 months ago. And sometimes it's encouraging, because you're like, man, hey, I'm not there anymore. You know, or maybe that's what'll help you realize I do need some therapy. Maybe you'll look back and see, man, I've been going through this for a while. Maybe I can't do this on my own.
Right.
You know, so you get the benefit of releasing those emotions, and you get the benefit to be able to track those emotions and see how far you come or how far you need to go. So I think journaling is amazing. Gym also, again, I cannot talk about that more than I can't talk about that enough, that the gym is a great release. But I think overall, your focus is just make sure that you hit all three levels, you know, mental, emotional, and spiritual. You know, so find a church, find a home or a faith that you believe in, that you feel strong about, and, you know, get rooted in that. You know, emotional, that's where the therapy comes in. You know, physical, that's where the gym comes in. You know, find all these things. And ladies, if you want to help provide a safe space for your man, then ask him questions, get to understand what matters to him, and listen. Like a lot of times, you ladies are great at asking the questions, but you don't really listen to the answers sometimes, or at least men don't feel you do. We feel unheard a lot. So, you know, repeat back to him. When you ask him, say like, hey, what is being heard? You know, what does that mean to you? Or what does that feel like to you? And then listen for that. Repeat it back to him. Make sure you understand what that is, and then provide him opportunities to have that space. And the biggest thing ever is once this man opens up to you, you can never throw that in his face or call him sassy or do anything like that because he was opening up or being emotional or being vulnerable. Because once you do that, he will never view you as a safe space again and open up.
Right. And then also the whole idea. So that's why it's very important to at least try to find your right person. Because you may open up to someone, but y'all really not locked in. And then that's when the pillow talk happens. And then to your point, once it starts getting around town, especially this small town, it's like, dang, man, I said this. And now everybody in your business, you feel embarrassed. So it's very important to, if you are looking to date or getting on the dating scene, that's going to be a big key, making sure that you find the right person for you that you can trust, that you know that truly is rocking with you, that truly has all of your emotions at heart, and they're going to try to hopefully help you offer solutions and build a great relationship.
I definitely agree. All right, everybody, that was episode 10, Man Up. You know, I really just want to encourage brothers again to make sure you reach out and get help, get therapy. You know, don't be afraid to do that. Reach out to some of those names that we talked about earlier. Google search, like Brandon said, try to telehealth. That was an excellent piece of advice. And just get the help. Don't keep that bottled in, because it's not a good thing at all for you to do.
Right, that's a fact. So episode 10. I think this is a wrap on season 1.
Yeah, this is season 1, y'all.
Season 1, so we'll definitely be back. We appreciate all the love and support. Hey, if you have not already, go like, share, subscribe. All platforms from YouTube to Facebook to IG to TikTok to Spotify, every platform that we're on, please give us that support. That's going to also help us for season 2, getting some new content. What else we got going?
Actually, man, we got a few things coming up. So just to let y'all know ahead of time, during this little break between the seasons, we're going to be running some of the top clips. You know, some of the ones that we got the most views, that got the most comments, that people want to talk about, that had the city talking the most. So we're going to share some of those and just kind of keep those out there. But we also have a new segment that we want to do. Probably do it once a month and just kind of put it out there, and it's called Dissecting Tyrone, the group chat.
Right.
Well, we're going to bring in some of these people from our tribe and just have a group setting. It's going to be more like barbershop talk and more of our funny side, you know, because the podcast, we really try to make it informational and have these spaces for men to talk about these conversations that we don't typically have publicly. But the group chat's going to be...
It's going to be ignorant.
It's going to be
we
lit.
Just going to let you know right now it's going to be ignorant. All views do not reflect Jason and myself, so just keep that in mind. But we're going to have some fun doing this, and I think it's going to be a ball. One of the other things that we are going to do, for Omaha Days, we need y'all to show up, show out. We will be hitting the streets for Omaha Day, so we're going to be outside. So make sure that when we're doing our outside interviews, you come talk to us. It's going to be a ball, have fun, but more to come on that. We'll get the dates narrowed down, and then the times and when we'll be, so you guys can come out and come mess with us.
And season 2, I think one big step for season 2 that we're going to do is we're going to start having guests. Right. You know, get a few opposing views out here. You know, like this episode we talked about therapy. You know, maybe we have Ted Lampkin if he wants to come on the show and share his knowledge and his insight, because we're not professionals in that regard. So it'd be nice to have that. Or when we talk about dating, like a lot of times, man, the ladies have been the most vocal about our episodes when it comes to dating and relationships, because you know, when we talked about piss in the pool, there's piss in the pool on both sides. And the women want to voice their opinion on it. So we're going to let some of the ladies come in here and voice their opinion and have a little dialogue back and forth. So there's going to be some bigger and better things coming on with the podcast.
So let me ask you this. Is there anything, before we wrap this up, anything that you want to shout out, any projects or anything that you have going on a personal level, on any level? Shout them out.
Personally, I'm about to be a self-published author.
Congratulations.
So I have a poem that was on my album. That was my mom's favorite poem, and it's about a caterpillar that becomes a butterfly and his journey on how to get there. And I turned it into a children's book. Dope. So that should be coming out pretty soon here. Everything is done. We're just finalizing everything before I put it on Amazon to be printed. So yeah, I have the book coming out, and other than that, man, I'm just living life and being a father and dating and being single and enjoying singlehood.
Okay.
What about you? What do you? I know you got some big things coming up.
Yeah, I got some heat coming. So first and foremost, I want to thank the city for all the support on the Sign Doctor. So that's my actual business. So my grand opening of the Sign Doctor will be June 22nd, which is a Sunday. It's going to be a big event, live music, food trucks, great entertainment, just a dope grand opening. So definitely looking forward to getting that under wraps. So more to come. Check my Facebook, my Instagram. You'll see the flyers coming through soon. Another thing that I have going on around Omaha Day is called Melanin Moves Omaha. So I'm real big on fitness, and this is something, a safe space for people like us to be able to talk about the physical fitness, maybe doing like a 5K run or 5K run. We're going to do some dynamic yoga stretching, all these different things, but it's like to get the environment and the culture in this city on some type of healthy kick. And I think it's going to be super dope. A lot of folks. So I'm partnering with my boy Darnell, Miss Johnetta. So these are the two folks that we're going into this. And we just want to have a vibrant scene, vibrant culture for physical fitness. And we're going to take this very, very serious. It should be super duper fun. It's going to be a lot of spinoffs that come from this. But those are the couple of things that I have in the fire right now. So stay tuned. I'm going to promote it. Come support your boy. Support Jason when his book drops. And what more can we say?
Hey, guys, it's been fun. The support has been amazing. Y'all going to bring a tear to a player's eyes, because it's been amazing to hear people stop us and say, you know, hey, I watched your episode and it meant a lot to me, or it helped me have a conversation with my father or my children. And so it's been a great run.
Right. I love it. I'm having fun doing this, and we look forward to season 2. Hopefully you do too, and we'll be in touch real soon.
All right. I'm Jason.
I'm Brandon.
Peace.
Peace.